Well, hey, let's go ahead and get started. I know we've got a lot to cover today. Welcome to those of you that are watching on LinkedIn, and welcome to you guys that are watching live here on Riverside. We do have moderators on both sides. I'll introduce them here in a second. But I did want to start by just, thanking you guys for taking time out of your busy schedule. We know there's a lot of things you could be doing right now rather than listening to us talk about rock and roll, menswear, the weather, all that stuff. So we're glad to have you. Super excited for today's show. This is a really big topic. It's by far our biggest turnout that we've had this year. And I think that's for two reasons. Number one, our very special guest, who I'll introduce here in just a second formally. And number two, the topic. I think we're all feeling this lack of traffic coming to our websites, the lack of leads coming to our website. Where the heck are our buyers? And we're really going to try to unpack that today. But let me jump into just introducing you to our very special guest. Rand Fishkin is one of my marketing heroes. I've been following Rand for, 20 years at least, back from the SEO Moz days and Whiteboard Fridays. And Rand, the Google Chrome extension that you guys put together. I mean, all of that was just amazing. And now he's the founder of SparkToro, which is a tool that we use for all of our clients. It's a great audience tool. I'm sure Rand will talk about that in a little bit. And now also, because he doesn't have enough to do, the CEO of Alert Mouse, which is a great Google Alerts replacement tool. Hopefully we'll get to talk a little bit about that. So without further ado, Rand, you want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah, and thank you for having me, Paul and Lauren. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to chat about all these things, have some brand new research this week that is getting a lot of attention. Absolutely. So, yeah.
Rand, before I get too far into the topic, I just, wanted you to know how much you're such a humble guy, how much you've influenced the world of B2B. And, I was listening to a podcast to get ready for today's show, and I can't even remember the name of the podcast, but it's something I like to do when I'm getting ready to have a guest. And you talked about your view of success. And I just wanted to share this with the audience. And Rand basically said, hey, I don't see the success in my world. And obviously Rand's had a lot of success as money or accomplishments. His view of success, and I'm totally paraphrasing this, was, figuring out something new and climbing that ladder, figuring it out. And he said, what's the problem with so many businesses today or entrepreneurs today is they climb the ladder and then they want to pull the ladder up and not make it easy for the people to come up behind them. And that becomes like their moat. This is what you said, Rand, and it just blew me away, and why I appreciate you so very much. He said, I want to build the ladder, climb up to the top, and not just get other people to go up the ladder. I then want to build an escalator to make it easier for the people that come up behind me. And dude, that is such a humble, lead with helping other people. I just wanted to give everybody a chance. I know those of you that are watching today have probably been following Rand for a long time. So if Rand has influenced you in some way, or you appreciate what Rand has done, could you just give a yes or an awesome or a something in the chat just to let him know, man, we appreciate what you're doing. I'd love to see that as we go through this today. So, hey, thumbs ups. And I didn't think you could do that. Look, people are clapping I didn't even know you could do that. That must be a new Riverside.
Incredibly kind. But yes, Paul, this is, I don't know what else could be more important in life or work than helping other people succeed.
Absolutely.
Right? That's Absolutely. That reward is vastly more meaningful than financial success. It's really quite a problem, I think, that we have. And when I say we, I really think it was the venture capital startup ecosystem of the early 2000s that popularized this idea that every business needs to build a moat to prevent competition, as opposed to build a better product, right? Like have better customer service, build a better marketing engine, build a better brand. No, it's how do we build a protective moat that keeps people from being able to use competitors, that discourages competition from even existing. And, for folks who don't know the history of antitrust or the economic success of the United States through especially the 19th and 20th centuries, a ton of that is because this was a country where competition was celebrated and competition was possible. And there was not this, protective movement where big businesses, for example, in the what's now the United Kingdom, right? But if you think of how the crown, the royalty, the monarchy of the UK would essentially say this is a protected business of the queens or of the kings, and then no one's allowed to compete with them. You don't buy from other businesses. The United States is not that, and I feel like we need to go back there, right? So
Yeah,
I want to help people build competition.
We see it in all the way back to Whiteboard Fridays, all the way back to everything that you did at Moz, even today with Spark Toro. It's unbelievable. And, one of the very early things that I focused on, and I've been doing this for 25 years now, is education is marketing. So like from the very early days, we were doing lunch and learns and just bringing our audience in and inviting them to learn about the internet and what SEO was. And a lot of that I learned from you, and then just would teach to the local community in the Dallas area back when we were a small little agency. But education is marketing. And I think we'll even touch on some of that today when we think about how do we earn trust, right? I think some of that's going to come back.
Like, Paul, you think about, when you and I were coming up in this industry and the amount of education we could do through, writing blog posts and publishing ultimate guides, the beginner's guide to SEO right back in the day, or the search ranking factors, right? All these things. And nowadays, it is content and education is still a huge way to earn trust and build brands, but you cannot do it through those things.
Right. Right.
That model of, hey, let me find keywords people are searching for in Google, and then I'll create, the best resource for them, and then I'll rank high, and then I'll get traffic, and then some of the people who come and get educated by that content, they will spread the word, and my business will grow. That model it's not dead, but it is dying. It is collapsing. I think that's why so many people are joining the show today, and why so many people care about this is because B2B marketing is fundamentally upended by the zero-click era.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, let me share one thing I wanted to share with you to kind of set the stage today. We actually had the audience take a survey as they were registering, and we've got about 400 people that registered. Almost 200 people took the survey. This is one place I actually love AI. I can take all the survey data, run it through Claude, and get some interesting insights back out. So the folks that are actually watching us live right now, Rand, they're the ones that gave us this feedback. And there's a few things that I'd love to get your reaction to before we get into the agenda. One thing that's, I think, pretty evident over there on the top left, 73% of you guys that registered for today are starting to feel the pressure from above. CEOs, CFOs, whatever. They're like, hey, are we showing up in ChatGPT? Are we showing up in AI answers? Are we doing what we need to be doing? And so we're starting to feel the pressure. Right behind that, 83% are concerned about they're losing visibility. We're all feeling that, not necessarily in our pockets, but certainly in our GA4 reports, right? We're just not seeing the traffic anymore. 59% aren't confident that they're showing up. So they really don't know how to even tell if they're showing up. And Rand, we're going to touch on this if we have time a little bit later on. You did that interesting study that I participated in back in the fall about that. But if we move over to the right, a couple of interesting things here. Number one, this audience, and I think this has got to do a lot with the LinkedIn hype that's going on right now about just AI tools and AI answers. But the audience kind of believes right now that AI tools are the number one way that buyers learn before talking to sales. I think you're going to have a different take on that. We'll get into that here in a little bit. And then the last one is that really knowing what to do about all this seems to be the biggest concern. And so I'm definitely want to give you some airtime as we go through the agenda just to talk about zero-click marketing. I know you've got a book coming out about that later on. By the way, we are going to share the agenda. And please, Lauren and Jessica, if you haven't already, drop the agenda. There's a link to pre-register for Rand's book. There's also a link to the blog you just wrote this past week, Rand, about Google. There's a lot of great resources there. I want you guys to have access to that. But I'm going to pause. Rand, I know I didn't show this to you before in the green room. Anything here that you just want to react to before we jump into the actual agenda?
I mean, I have reactions to all of these things. I think happy to talk about as we get into it, showing up in AI answers and talking about how to measure that and how not to measure that. But the discovery piece, gosh, I don't want to say everyone is wrong, but everyone is probably wrong. Like it's just, I realize that AI feels overwhelmingly popular. It's this huge trend. Tons of people inside of businesses, especially in B2B world, are obsessed with it. And like the hype cycle is, probably near its peak, although I do think it's slowing down or coming down. But if you look at broad discovery, even in B2B, right? We have data about this from Clickstream. So, you can look at, for example, only chief information security officers at, businesses with more than $100 million of revenue in the United States. And you can see that, yes, absolutely, their AI usage is considerably higher than the average Americans, like way higher, 400%. And Google is still dwarfing it. Right. So now, what I do think is true is when people say AI, do they mean Google's AI overviews? Mm-hmm. Because if that's what you mean, you are absolutely 100% correct. Google's AI overviews are almost certainly influencing every single one of your customers and potential customers. But if you mean ChatGPT and Claude and people going to those tools and specifically saying like, hey, tell me which business, I should work with. Gosh, you know what? The perception of that popularity is far, far greater than the reality. It's not that no one's using it. It's just that they're much, much smaller than you think.
Yeah. In fact, in your research, I think I saw that we'll get into that in a second, but like one click out of 1,000 AI chats or something like that is what we can expect. It's like crazy.
Yeah. Super low percentage. Yeah, exactly, Lauren. Shazad Abbas from Define Media just posted about this. And he was basically showing the data on traffic to all, publishers and then B2B specifically that comes from AI. We're not even talking about 1%.
Yeah, it's very low. Yeah, it's very, very low.
If you think about this logically, right, a B2B buyer who is asking questions to AI but never visits your website from there is, I'm going to say, either very early in the journey or they were not a prospect, right? Like that's, yeah. Now, you do see these patterns. I think, I don't want to spoil anything, but SimilarWeb is they just emailed me about this. They're about to come out with some data about the propensity, unfortunately it's consumer data, but propensity for an AI tool to recommend a brand, and then the visitation rate that those brands' websites receive in the 7 to 10 days following that recommendation. I think that'll be quite interesting because it suggests that a lot of the traffic is indirect.
Yeah. And the thing that's going to be really interesting, and I'm glad you spent some time on that because, I don't think it's AI that's killing us right now in terms of traffic. I think it's, where are people getting influenced today? And that's what we're going to be talking about. And I think that's a great segue into the first topic, which is, zero click is here. So, you and Amanda came up with that awesome term of zero click content a couple of years ago. I think it tied right back to when we started seeing that about half of all searches were not ending in clicks. And then, Rand, the timing of this show could not have been any better for the blog and the research that you just put out about a day ago. Can you break that down for the audience about what's going on in the world of Google search and traffic these days?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys mind if I pull this up on my screen here?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, so basically our research published yesterday was with SimilarWeb, who has a giant panel of tens, maybe hundreds of millions of devices globally around the world. This first bit that we're looking at is just the United States. I will have data on Canada, UK, and EU coming soon, so stay tuned. SimilarWeb basically looked at what happens after people perform a Google search. So I worked with their team to get these metrics, and about a third of the time, someone performs a click, right? So for each search across, we're talking about billions of searches, on average, 32% click something. 66% of those clicks go to organic, 27% to something Google or Alphabet owns, and 6% to a paid ad. And then 39% do nothing. Like the search session essentially ends. On mobile, we determined that this happens somewhere between like 10 and 30 seconds of no activity after a search. Whatever, you're in the grocery store, you look, what kind of black peppercorns do I need for this, Indian curry recipe? And then it's like, oh, you should get the telecherry ones. Phone goes back in the pocket, search session over. 29% perform another search, right? So, but that only counts searches via the default search bar. If you instead went to YouTube and made a search, or you went to Google Images to do a search, or Google Maps, that would be in this 27% number down here at the bottom. And then this, right, this like nothing, no clicks were generated by this search is 68%. And so basically for every 1,000 US Google searches, 232 go to the open web. That is down significantly from the 316 that we had 2 years ago. And this, you can see the rate of acceleration. So the first data point I have for you here is 2016, when we were at 45% zero clicks, rising to, as you noted, that first study from 2019, 50%, 60% in 2024, and now 68%.
Yeah.
So that is
crazy.
Yeah, that's where we're at. There's more details and more data in the blog post. I've got all these kinds of other data points for people who are curious, but I will, I will leave you to check out the blog post if you're interested in more.
And we do have that blog post linked in the resources of the agenda, so be sure to check that out. And so, what's interesting, that data is some of the most current data that we have on that. I don't know if people caught what Rand said, though, but of this traffic that is resulting in a click, a huge percentage of that traffic is going to Google-owned sites like YouTube, et cetera. So it's a real 200 out of 1,000 roughly are going to commercial sites that aren't. So just think about that math. So even though it's like 68% don't end in a click, it's really like 80% don't send traffic to commercial websites. It's pretty crazy when you think about it that way. And Rand, I'd love to get you to react, because that is kind of looking at where we are current state today. But last month, Google made a big announcement about AI everything in their research results. What are your thoughts on that in general? And then what impact should we expect as B2B marketers once they roll that out?
Yeah, so it is quite tough to tell if Google's I/O event announcement was marketing and positioning or a real statement of what they're going to do regardless of what the data shows. And my suspicion is it's more the former than the latter. So this is, Lauren and Paul, you guys can disagree with me, but I would suspect that what will actually happen is that they will roll out tests like they did for Geraldine. So for folks who weren't in the pre-show, Geraldine was on for a minute, my wife, and she had gotten the Google AI only test on her Pixel, on her Android Pixel device, where essentially when she performed a search, there were no search results, like no list of links. It was purely AI. And she was complaining to me. She's like, where did the internet go? I can't find anything that I'm looking for. It's just giving me sort of content that it's scraped from elsewhere. That if tests like that reveal that click-through rate on paid ads is lower, or percentage of people who perform another search, or search addiction drops, I think Google will stop rolling this out. I don't think this is hey, we're going to do it by hook or by crook. It doesn't matter what the data shows, like we're going all in on AI. I think this is going to be a test scenario. And Geraldine's behavior was, hey, what's that other search engine? And I said, DuckDuckGo. And she's like, great, I'm going there. That's how I'm going to find.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's how I'm going to find the Springsteen t-shirts on eBay that I want. I'll go to DuckDuckGo. I'm like, great.
It feels like they've broken their contract with us. It's like we had this unspoken contract. Google said, I'm going to crawl your content and I'm going to crawl the world's content. And in exchange for that, sometimes I'm going to send you traffic. So I'm going to use your information so that I have a place and a destination that people can go to, that I can sell ads and make money and monetize from. And in exchange for that, I'm going to give you some traffic every now and then.
And it
Doesn't it
costs
feel
you
like they've
server
broken
bandwidth.
that contract?
Yeah, absolutely. Right? That the deal was Google is going to crawl and scrape the crap out of your website. They're going to cost you server bandwidth, which historically used to be quite expensive, right? Like, you were talking about bills in the hundreds or thousands of dollars a month that you were paying just to have Google crawl you all the time. And then on top of that, there was this basically agreement that was made around how the internet worked that you wouldn't sue them for copyright violation when they took your stuff, made a copy of it, kept that copy on their servers, and then served that up to users because they sent traffic, right? So like all the copyright and trademark infringement issues that any other business would suffer, right? If you go and republish every Amazon listing on your website, I guarantee some lawyers are going to call you. Like,
100%.
you are not getting away with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, give it a try, please. But Google is immune to this because of the traffic that they sent. And that deal, it's Darth Vader in Empire Strikes Back, right? It's just pray that I don't alter the deal further. And every year they have been altering the deal further.
Yeah. And even if, like you said, they find out that users don't really like this AI everything experience and they go back to what it is today, as businesses, we can still expect very little traffic from search. And, that ties right into the book. And the book that you've written is Zero Click Marketing. I mean, you and Amanda have been talking about zero click content for 2 or 3 years now. I cannot wait to read the book. But help us understand why you wrote the book and what's inside it. So this is a B2B audience, Rand. What can we do? Like, what are we thinking about this the wrong way? And how can zero-click marketing help us market ourselves out of this situation?
Yeah. So zero-click marketing is a book because we believe that the conversations we were having with hundreds of business owners, a lot of folks in B2B for sure, was not just, hey, here's how to, do marketing in a web that's not sending you traffic. Here are the platforms to participate. Here's how to do audience research. Like all that tactical stuff. Yes, you'll find that in the book. But also, we believed and kept seeing evidence that we needed to provide ammunition, firepower for marketers to make this same case to their boss, to their team, to their client, to their CFO who was trained on attribution, who doesn't understand or believe in 20th century style measurement, who doesn't know how to perform lift-based experiments, who looks at the Google Analytics and sees that, well, this many clicks came from this place, so that's where we should put our marketing budget. And a book is how you change those kinds of minds. And so that is a big part of why the book exists. It's sort of hey, compile all the research for me, show me the history, show me the data, give me the illustrations and sort of the graphics where I can just flip to that page and be like, look, this is what's happening. It's happening because it's happening to you. It's your own web behavior. No one doesn't get it when you sort of say like, oh yeah, show me how you use Google. Show me how you use Instagram. Show me how you use Reddit and YouTube and LinkedIn and TikTok and Facebook. You don't scroll in your feed and like find links and then click and then buy from the company who published the content. That is such 2012 style thinking, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So that's what zero click marketing is here to do. And I think I'm actually, I don't say this a lot, but I'm quite proud of the book. You guys know Amanda's a hell of a writer, and we had a great editing team, fantastic illustrator, and it is we bled all over the page to get this to you.
Yeah, well, and I know it's coming out in the fall. There's a link on the agenda for you guys to order that if you want to. I think you can pre-order it, so be sure to do that. Help us understand what the premises are, because I know some of the big things that you've been talking about, Rand. And some of the things that we talk about is like, for example, our website can't be the homepage of our business anymore. Like we have to go where our customers are spending time online. Like that's such a critical part of being successful. And in the world of B2B, at least the folks that we talk to, they still struggle. They think all my great stuff's got to live on my website. All my, conversion rate optimization, all that stuff. That's what's going to help me grow my business. Where are we missing the boat on that? What should we be thinking about in this zero-click marketing world?
Yeah. So if you think about your classic marketing funnel, right, which at the top of the funnel, historically, the top of the funnel was essentially, channels like search and social and even AI tools, right, and PR. All those channels, the goal used to be in those places with a link that drives people back to your website, where in the middle of the funnel and at the bottom of the funnel, they can learn about who you are and what you do and the problem that you solve and why they should choose you over competitors, and what features your product has. All those kinds of things. Those happened in middle and bottom of funnel before the conversion, and they happened on your website. And there was just not this. There was no reason to, and there was no incentive to make that content available elsewhere. Like you were trying to get people on your site for that purpose. Now this is more true in B2B than anywhere else, right? That investigation process, and this is where a lot of those AI respondents in your survey come in. That process, that top, middle, and bottom of funnel, that investigation is being done on Reddit, right? On whatever, G2 reviews, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, especially in B2B on LinkedIn. It is happening on Google's search results. It's happening inside of ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini. So this world has upended where you should do marketing and how you should do marketing. Those ultimate guides, those long form pieces, those deep research things. You can see even in my own behavior. If you go read one of my guides from 2012 or 2019, you'll see these long form pieces with tons of content. And you compare that to the way that I publish today, even on our own site, and it is short form, easily grokkable, super easy to send, a tweet or a Threads post or a Blue Sky post or, publish it on Reddit. Here's a great example for you. So yesterday, this research comes out, right? The research we just went through together, and the reach on SparkToro's blog where it was published, I think we got between 3,000 and 5,000 visits, maybe probably closer to 5,000 now, which is not terrible. Like that's pretty decent. But, the day I published the research in 2019, the half of Google, 60,000.
Wow.
60,000 visits that one day, first day. Now, granted, it was top of Hacker News and CNBC wrote about it and got all this press and stuff. But this research today has more reach than that last one. And you know why it has more reach? I will admit, mostly because of Reddit. It has more than 500,000 views currently on the Our Data is Beautiful subreddit, where there are, hundreds of comments and journalists have picked it up, and it's, ranking #1 in Google, and the images, are in Google image search, and they come up in the AI overview because we distributed to all these platforms, right? I've got a video that's going up today on YouTube about it. It's in a bunch of LinkedIn posts. It's obviously on Twitter and Threads and Blue Sky and all these other places. I'm going to take the article and republish it on Medium. That distribution to these other platforms where people are paying attention, Substack, bunch of Substack newsletters have picked it up. That distribution means that more people have seen it, but the website traffic is less than a tenth of what it was.
Right.
Completely upends the model.
Yeah. I mean, unbelievable how much that was a great example because, one of the things we talk about at Vindy is we have to activate our audience. It's one of the phases of our framework. And what that just simply means is understanding, this is where we use SparkToro, is understanding where our customer's audience hangs out online, right? We have to go to SparkToro. That tells us, hey, they're in these channels, they're listening to these podcasts, they're checking out these YouTube videos, etc. And then we have to go and take our content, that long form content that used to live on our websites, like you were talking about, that, gosh, a few years ago, we had a form. We were blocking it with a form because we needed to get that lead, right? And
it used to work, man. It totally used to work.
It worked so good. And now we have to take that information, make it bite size, and go find those channels where our audience is spending time online. And what we say is be seen as a peer, not a peddler. We want to be part of the conversation. And Rand, I think you personally do a great job modeling this. If you guys want to see what good thought leadership content looks like, go follow Rand on LinkedIn, because his videos, and they're really good. They're bite-sized. I mean, your videos on LinkedIn, which is crazy. Everybody's gone to vertical videos except you. You still have the horizontal videos, right?
Horizontal for me works better on LinkedIn. I tested some vertical. I think the format isn't as ideal. LinkedIn, still a lot of people using it on desktop.
At the end of the day, it's about the content, man. The content's good. People are going to watch it,
Chuck has this great question in the comments asking, are there industries that are immune to this change in traffic, or is it across the board? Almost every industry is experiencing it, but absolutely publishing is getting hammered far more than almost anything else. So if you're in the publishing industry, you can see this sort of death of traffic far more intently. I will say Cyrus Shepard did a very nice piece on the Zippy website where he did an analysis. It's a little hard to find because Cyrus's navigation is funny. But let me see if I can find this study. He looked at basically websites that that grew traffic over the last couple of years, despite sort of 98% of all websites losing traffic. If you go check out his study on that, you will see some examples of folks who not necessarily were immune to it, but were able to overcome this. And then he has these factors and features where he kind of graded all the sites that lost traffic and won traffic, and sort of what makes a site stand out and overperform. A lot of it is, do you have to do things on that website that you could not possibly do inside of Google or AI?
That's right. I mean, at the end of the day, our customers are going to follow the path of least resistance. And so if the path of least resistance is get the information on LinkedIn, get the information in an AI answer, then they're going to follow that path of least resistance. If, to your point, Rand, if there's something on my website they have to do to get the answer, then that is their path of least resistance. So they will still go to your website. Madison had an interesting question. She asked about gated content. Is it worth it? Is it not? What are your thoughts on gated content for B2B?
It can still work, but my recommendation is take the core value, the things that are providing sort of the most interest, excitement, viral potential from your content, and share those in this bite-sized format across all of these platforms where your audience pays attention. By the way, in B2B, the places where your audience pays attention might only be 2 or 3 places. Like, you don't have to be in all these spots. I don't know if Threads is right for most B2B. I don't know if Instagram is right for most B2B. I can see some people already having success in those places, but plenty of others who are not. And so, if you go check out your audience, if it's LinkedIn and a couple subreddits and like a few YouTube channels, that works great. Take that content, right, Madison, and then I would use that to drive the most deeply interested, oh my God, I have to get more of this. I want to see the full report, all the charts and graphs, join the webinar, do whatever the thing is behind the gate. You can absolutely still reasonably have that. My one piece of advice here would be, when you take that, viral worthy bite-sized chunk of content that tells the story and you're sharing that out everywhere, I would suggest that you make the link back an implied link back most of the time. So if you post to LinkedIn and you're like, check out this chart with our latest research about this thing, or we did a big survey, or we have this guide to this problem, and like here it is summarized in a little bite-sized slideshow that you can watch on LinkedIn. Killer, great, fantastic. Don't include the URL there. The comments is a great place to get the URL, or say something like, hey, if you search for our brand plus guide, you'll find the full version. Great, right? Like we test this all the time. We were getting about a 9 to 10x increase in visibility when we posted without a link versus when we posted with a link, same content. Now we're seeing it up over 12x sometimes. So, this is true for LinkedIn's algorithm. It's true for Twitter. It's true for Threads. It's true for all these places, right?
Yeah, they don't want you to send traffic away from them. They want to keep you in there. It's that walled garden. So you talk about, you drop links in and immediately they're like, oh, no. But
yeah, my other tip for LinkedIn in particular, and since this is a B2B crowd, right? LinkedIn's going to be huge. If you can have a second person, someone else on your team or a friend, a buddy, have them go leave the link in the comment below your post, and then you reply to that comment with something like, oh, thanks for sharing the link, whatever, and give them the thumbs up or whatever, because that comment can then pop to the top. If you leave the first comment with the link, we find that LinkedIn hides those.
I know. Can you believe it? They suppress it. It's like, you got to really try to even see it later. So
you really got to work around their sneaky algorithm. Exactly, Madison.
Yeah. Madison, one other thing I would just add to that is one rule of thumb we always think about is fair exchange of value. So if it's worth it to the buyer to fill out the form, a great example is this growth show, right? This is gated content. If you think about it in its purest essence, you have to fill out a form in order to come to this show. In exchange for that, you get a link, you get to come and watch us live, you get to participate. But to Rand's point, after this show, we're going to slice this up into bite-sized, curiosity-based content. We're going to put the entire replay on our website. This is the crazy part. The replay is not going to be gated. People in the future are going to be able to watch this without filling out a form. You guys had to fill out a form, but that's because you wanted to come watch it live and we needed to give you the access to it. So in the future, when this starts to reappear out in social media, the clips will be in LinkedIn, the clips will be in YouTube. It'll take you back to our website where you can watch the entire replay without a gate. So just think about fair exchange of value. Hey, let's move on to the next topic. This was great conversation. I want to make sure we get through all the big ones. So, and we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I'd like to touch on the buyer behavior element of this, which is if buyers aren't clicking, because they're not, what are they doing instead of clicking? Like what are they doing out there in the web? How are they learning? What does that look like in the world of B2B? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, a lot of it is scrolling, asking questions. They're technically, right, it is not it's not the click that's entirely gone. It's the click that leaves the platform that's gone. So inside of LinkedIn's ecosystem, people are tapping on that, like, let me see the comments. They're tapping on the play the video button. They're tapping on the, up next in YouTube. They're tapping on the, YouTube Instagram discover, right? That behavior exists. It's the click that forces the platform departure that's gone. So take advantage of that, right? Like, this is when I talk about how your middle and bottom of funnel marketing needs to migrate or at least be replicated in the platforms where your audience pays attention. This is exactly what I mean. When someone goes from your post on LinkedIn to your LinkedIn profile or your company profile, can they immediately grok what you are doing, who you're for and not for? Your positioning, your product, the problem that you solve, the reason they should choose you over competitors, that needs to be present in those few sentences and the little background image and the profile pic, and like that needs to be present right there. It's a story you have to now tell in a paragraph instead of a giant long web page. Same thing on YouTube, same thing on Reddit, same thing on Threads, same thing on Twitter, same thing on TikTok, right? Like that pinned video on your, whatever, if you're doing Instagram or TikTok or something, right? That pinned video better explain exactly who you are and why people should choose you, like, right? And make the case. It's the shrinking attention span of sort of, it's not a generational thing. Like every attention span in every generation has shrunk due to this short form content addiction that we've got. And so you need to play by these rules and have that short form content on these platforms that tells your story in the platform. Don't force the click.
If you're not doing that, it just feels like trying to swim upstream, like you're putting in too much effort to get too little out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Exactly, Lauren, right? Like you're fighting against the joint. There's two challenges here, right? Like I don't want people to get the wrong idea that this is exclusively pushed on us by big tech. Yes, it is. Like big tech is absolutely one of the forces that's causing this. But the other force is human beings. It is all of us, scrolling on our phone in our sort of like feed ecosystem and getting addicted to short form content and falling out of love with wanting to tap and wait for a website to load, even if it only takes a second and a half. Like we just don't want to leave these ecosystems. Have you tried leaving LinkedIn? It gives you a little warning thing where it's like, oh my God, are you sure you want to leave LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Danger.
Yeah, exactly. Danger. The interesting thing you just nailed is buyer behavior's changed, but what buyers have to go through to make an informed decision really hasn't changed, right? Like I have to learn about things. I have to have a problem that I need to solve. I have to have a way to get educated on what are the different ways I can solve that problem. I have to ultimately talk to vendors that can give me pricing and all that kind of stuff. And then I have to feel good about one of those vendors. And then I have to make a decision, right? That process hasn't changed. But what's happened is go ahead, Rand.
No, you're absolutely right. It's just so much shorter now.
Yes.
Right? Like what people want to consume in a single session discovery research process is so much smaller.
Yeah. And so the point that we have to take away from this that Rand has been talking about this whole session is our websites are no longer our homepage. Like the homepage of our business is everywhere that our buyer goes to learn, but we can't take those 1,000-word, 3,000-word blogs and just slap that into LinkedIn or slap that into YouTube. We have to create channel appropriate content, because when you go to LinkedIn, you have an expectation as a consumer of information on LinkedIn or any platform of what that's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, how you're going to consume it. And so a big mistake I see B2Bs think is, one, they still think everything needs to be on their website, all the good stuff. But then they say, okay, well, my good stuff now needs to be on LinkedIn. Let's just dump the stuff that was on our website on LinkedIn. We really need to build it in a channel appropriate way. Again, I'm going to give a big nod to Rand. Go follow his LinkedIn content, because you do a great job of that, right? I mean, all the stuff, when you read a LinkedIn post of yours, you never feel like, oh, I've got to click over to SparkToro to read the rest of the story. I could just consume that content right on LinkedIn and get the main point.
Yeah. Not 95% of the time or more, our content is zero click. And then 5%, this is an interesting sort of twist on this. 5% of the time we take the algorithmic and human reputation that we've built up, right? Amanda and I, we have a lot of posts that get a lot of engagement and a ton of impressions and lots of comments and people following us. And then occasionally we will be like, okay, this is the one. This is the 1 out of 20 where you're going to have to click to get more. And so we essentially build up algorithmic reputation. You can take a look at my LinkedIn stats and see me essentially doing this on a regular basis, where I will share a bunch of posts that are native content that get a bunch of engagement on the platform. I do this on Threads and Blue Sky and Twitter as well. And then as that algorithmic reputation builds up, what I mean by algorithmic reputation is like the algorithm starts to see that when Rand posts content, a lot of these people engage with it. So we should show his content to them more and more frequently. And then 1 out of 20 times we'll put in the link, which we know diminishes our reach, but because we have that high algorithmic reputation already, it's kind of a wash. Like it doesn't hurt us too much, and it still gets seen by a lot of people. So it's that sort of earn reputation and then spend it, algorithmic capital, really. And that model, again, it's one of the other tactics that we describe in the flywheel section of the book, but that works really well for us.
Yeah, that's great. Rand, we're a customer of SparkToro. We use it for audience research.
Oh, cool.
And we've been talking about being in the right platforms with the right message, and that those platforms now become the homepage of our business, not our website anymore. How can people use, I know SparkToro because we use it every day, but can you help the audience just understand what is SparkToro, how it can help them?
Yeah. So if you think about all the things that we've been saying, right, where essentially like the job at the top of the funnel and sort of in the middle of the funnel is presenting the problem, right? That is, if you're trying to speak to chief information security officers and you have a new, solution that's going to save them a bunch of time or money or get them compliant faster or whatever it is. Your job is explain that problem over and over, show the research, show the data, show the trends, show the shifting legal situation, whatever, right? At the top of your funnel, that's what's going on in your LinkedIn feed and your YouTube and your Reddit and all your presence across all these places and your Google AI overviews. And the problem that we solve is this zero-click problem, right? Like our belief is that as the web shifts to a zero-click era, every marketer will need to know, where is my audience? Who are they? Sort of demographically and psychographically and behavior-wise, and where can I reach them? So that I can go do my marketing in the places where they're already present, because I can't just drive traffic back to my website. And so what SparkToro does is exactly this, right? It's sort of like, hey, what podcasts do electrical engineers in Ohio listen to? Or what YouTube channels are popular with chemical engineers in the UK, or what websites are interior designers in California visiting, and is YouTube more popular than Reddit is for my particular audience? Like all those kinds of things. So platforms and specific sources, search terms as well, right? So you will see search keywords in there, and you'll also see AI topics and prompts. So thanks to clickstream data, right? We're essentially like a layer on top of clickstream data, what SimilarWeb and Datos or ComScore or Nielsen, right, provide clickstream data of all these panels. We sit on top of that data, and then we add in lots of layers to make it visible and useful.
Yeah, I'll tell you, before we started using SparkToro, it was really expensive to get to this kind of information.
Oh my God, so expensive.
Oh yeah. And so it's great that we have it. I'll tell you, one of the things we love about it the most is, our audience and our clients are B2B. So LinkedIn is always going to index as one of the top channels. So we could probably figure that out without SparkToro. But what really helps us is, hey, these are the podcasts that this audience listens to. These are the YouTube channels that this audience listens to. These are the newsletters that you should probably go look at getting insertion orders with. And so
Paul, have you used
all those extra channels, right?
Have you used the Take Action to see the individual profiles and accounts that people follow on LinkedIn?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
That's pretty cool too, right? Like in my opinion, like it's useful to know, okay, LinkedIn over indexes with this audience. And then it's like, okay, who? Tell me right. Who on LinkedIn, right? Same thing with Reddit, right? It's like, okay, Reddit's doing well with this audience. Which subreddits? Like, show me the subreddits, right?
Subreddits are so important on Reddit.
Hey, real quick, and then I'm going to move us on to the last topic. But you mentioned that made me think about a topic I was going to try to bring into the conversation, and that's just influencer marketing. At a high level, B2B has been late to the game when it comes to influencer marketing.
But it's coming. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What are your thoughts on influencer marketing for B2B?
You can't stop a train at this speed. Like, no way can you stop it. I think what B2B is coming around to realize much later than consumer is that people follow people and they trust people, and it's really hard to build a sort of presence or account with a B2B brand that performs well on the platforms where an audience pays attention. Hard on YouTube, it's hard on LinkedIn, it's hard on Reddit, it's hard on Threads, it's hard on Instagram. Any of these places where you could potentially reach a B2B audience, it's just super difficult to try and do that with your brand. And it's hard to do. Like, I realize, you're very kind in saying like, hey, go check out what Rand's doing. What I'm doing, what Amanda's doing is vanishingly rare. It is really hard to build a profile to promote your own brand and company. You know what's much less hard? And Amanda does this all the time, right? She has products. I think she worked with Typeform recently, which we've been using for surveys for years, and we like them, and they don't pay me anything, but I think they've been working with Amanda as a content creator, where they're essentially like, hey, will you help us promote like this survey or this process or this new feature? She can share it once on LinkedIn and in her newsletter and reach 10,000 potential customers of Typeform that they never could have reached without her. And it is just crazy to me that influencer marketing programs, creator marketing programs don't exist inside B2B. That's just, I don't know, man. It's like looking at, the search landscape in 2010 and being like, well, I don't know about this Google. Let's throw all our budget at Bing. What?
Yeah.
Good idea.
I think it's coming.
Other people's audiences. Yes. Lisa's got it exactly right.
100%. And I do think it's coming because, you've got, especially in the world of B2B, people like you, people like me that are out there trying to post every day. Like, that is becoming a thing. People know, like, for us, when I post something on my LinkedIn profile, it gets like 10 or 12 times the views that if we post exactly the same thing on our LinkedIn company page. And so there's more and more people out there pushing content. I like the way you talked about it on a podcast recently. You basically said the best in LinkedIn influencers are the best B2B influencers are the ones that have an audience, but they don't realize they're influencers yet. Go find those people and get them to talk about your product, which is kind of what happened with Amanda, I think, in Typeform, right? Yeah. And, she's a way bigger influencer than she realized because people trust her.
And because people trust her, they know she's got a good filter. They know she's not going to work with somebody who's going to, screw them over. Also, in the AI era, there's this weird thing going on. And this goes back to, I saw a question that scrolled by us a little too fast, but it was about like social media teams and what they should be doing. Here's one of the craziest things that's happening right now is that to create that influence in Google's AI overviews, to create influence in ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and AI mode and these types of responses, right now you can have a huge impact with posts and content that get almost no engagement. You go find a relevant subreddit, you submit a piece of content there, it gets 2 upvotes and 1 comment, and you can see it influencing Google's AI overview the next day. You go to YouTube and you post a few videos that talk about your thing, and you can see that influencing Claude and ChatGPT within a few weeks. You go to LinkedIn and you post an article that nobody likes and nobody comments on and gets just nothing, and it still works to influence AI. And so part of what I would be using your company brand, because your company brand is not like getting the same levels of engagement. You know what? You want to post the more promotional stuff. You want to not necessarily like advertising promotional, but the information that you want the AI tools to suck up, get it in there.
That's such a great point.
If it gets 5 likes, don't sweat it. That's not the goal. Your goal for your personal account should absolutely be you to build up that algorithmic capital, get that flywheel rolling. But the goal for the B2B, for the business account, not the same, right? That's for the like deeply interested person who's curious and they want to learn more, and for the AI tools to suck up that content.
Yeah, that's just a great segue into, thinking about getting all that content that's on our website, getting it in these platforms where our buyers go to learn, which we already talked about. But now you just added a whole nother reason. I know that LinkedIn is one of the platforms that is training these LLMs. So start adding a lot of content to places like LinkedIn and YouTube. Even like you said, I love that. Not even
Instagram,
a lot of likes. We're going to show up in those AI answers.
Yeah, you saw last year, right, that Google and Instagram made this joint announcement that Instagram post will now be indexed by Google. And I see it. I see it influencing so much of my content inside of Google, the brands that it recommends to me, the short form videos that they've started putting in there. Instagram may not be for B2B, but it's absolutely for Google.
Yeah, there you go.
Get your ish into Instagram, people.
Awesome.
You can see. You know who's doing a great job of this? I have so much respect for him. Darren Shaw from White Spark. Darren Shaw is absolutely crushing it with Google Maps and local content. He was, I want to say for the last 2 or 3 years, he was posting videos on Instagram, almost every couple of days. And they got nothing. Like this poor guy. You look at his Instagram and you're like, oh, that is sad. That is sad. But it worked. He kept that flywheel going. Now you can see they're getting 20, 30, 40 likes per. They're showing up in all of Google's results whenever you search for anything local SEO related. Like, hey man, I think this is the model, right? This is the way that you have to sort of match the metric to the medium and to the goal. And that, yeah, I mean, Chuck, even to your question about like participating on Reddit as a user or an advertiser, both, right? Like if advertising is working for you on Reddit, great. That content is very unlikely to influence AI. But the organic content, absolutely influencing AI. So like go find, doesn't matter how small the subreddit is right now. It's working.
Yeah. Okay, we've got basically 2 or 3 minutes left.
Okay, let's lightning round.
Rapid fire. This is going to be like the practical takeaway section, Rand. If you were to step into a role as a CMO of a B2B company like today, all things considered that we talked about today, what would be like the first initiatives? What would you be focusing on in the next 90 days? Let's wrap with that.
Yeah, change the culture from attribution to lift-based measurement, right? Attribution is out the window. We're not going to try to attribute all our channels anymore. We're not going to only invest in channels that prove attribution. We are going to find where our audience pays attention, and we're going to invest in those places, and then we're going to see if sales go up. And I don't care if I can't prove that marketing influenced the sales. If the sales go up, I'm sticking with it.
Awesome. That's a great takeaway. Rand, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a great session. Love having you on the show. Hopefully we can talk you into coming back next year. You guys have all the information to find Rand on LinkedIn, to get access to his book. Be sure to go check out that book. It is going to be well worth it. That blog that we mentioned a couple of times, it's also in the resource section. So go check it out. Next month, we have AI, a website AI chat tool that's going to be our guest next month. John with Navu is actually on the show last year. I think that what we're going to find is our customers are going to want to start working with our websites, very similar to the way they talk to chat. And so having an AI-enabled chat is a way to give those customers that information that they want on your website without having to read those 1,000-word blogs. So today was all about how do we get in front of our buyer. And ultimately, and this is one thing we didn't talk too much about, we are still going to get traffic, and that traffic is going to come later cycle. It's going to convert at a higher rate. And AI chatbots are going to be a good way to give them the information that they need. So be sure to check out our July B2B Growth Show. You can register for that in the registration or in the agenda as well. And so until next time, we'll see you, Rand. Thank you again. Amazing job. We appreciate you guys. Take care, everyone. See ya.